Okay, should we just get stuck in then?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's get stuck in. Right, okay, everybody, thank you for joining us. So, yes, welcome. I am Amy. I am the Senior Marketing Executive here at HubGem. And we have Connor here as well, HubSpot CRM consultant, who will be doing predominantly most of the slides. Who will be working through all the marketing and admissions teams using HubSpot, the best reports for them. So yeah, we are part of HubGem, and we are a company founded nearly 5 years ago. Our birthday is looming, which is very exciting, by our CEO Gemma. So she was inspired by her own experiences, in the marketing and admissions at an independent school, and she recognised the potential of kind of HubSpot and how they could revolutionize these processes. And that's why we're here today, to share how HubGem can kind of benefit your business and how we can help through utilizing HubSpot. So yes, while our expertise scans education, we do dabble in nonprofits sometimes as well. So this hug will delve into how we can specifically empower education agents and your marketing to streamline these operations and enhance their effectiveness. So yes, I will bounce you over to Connor, who can introduce himself and get started.
Thank you, Amy. Hello, everyone. I'm Connor. As Amy said, I am a consultant here at HubGem, so I predominantly service clients in the education sector who are either looking to set up their account for the first time or just looking to improve it in any way. And a large part of what I do for most of my clients is reporting. So that's why we thought it'd be good to run a session today and speak about both admissions and marketing reports and kind of how they intertwine. And I'm essentially just going to be showing you a lot of examples from an account we work with, which will remain anonymous, but the data in there is super clean. They've got loads of good dashboards and reports for marketing and admissions. So yeah, I'm going to be firing through the slides. And like I mentioned before, if you have any questions, throw them in. Amy will be in the chat, and I'll probably just be glancing at the chat throughout, even though I shouldn't be, but it's right there, so I'll be looking. Great, I will move on. So today's agenda, before we look into actual specific reports, I'm going to be talking about the importance of clean and accurate data for reporting. I'll go into some detail on that in the slides that we get to. After that, I'll be looking at the best reports for admissions teams, so across inquiries and applications. And then I'll be looking at reports for marketing teams. So I'll be looking at some kind of vaguer, broad reports. And then I'm going to be using open days as a bit of a framework to go into some more detailed reports, because I know open days for schools in particular are a huge part of the marketing process throughout a year. So yeah, that's what I'll be doing. And like I mentioned again, any questions, throw them in there. They can be hard questions if you want. They can be easy questions. I guess I'll determine if they're hard or easy, if I can answer them or not. But yeah, I'll get started. So data is our first section. Oh, I didn't know the text was going to do that. I haven't presented it yet. So the importance of clean data for reporting. So as I like to say, really, when I speak about reporting, the strong hallmark or the hallmark of a strong HubSpot account is good reporting. So all the data you've got in your account, the end result of that really is reporting that is accurate, clean, and useful to your teams and anyone that needs to see them. In order to reach the point of effective reporting, it's really, really critical that the data is clean and accurate. Otherwise, your reports won't be accurate, and that's just, that's not helpful for me, for you, for Amy, for anyone. We need accurate data so that the reports are accurate. Otherwise, we're just reporting on nothing, really. So what do we typically classify as unclean data? Those are things mainly like missing fields, so people that don't have properties populated that maybe should be. Duplicate records is a big one. So a lot of accounts suffer this. I don't know if you're too familiar with how this happens, but duplicate records in HubSpot can be created from dodgy imports, maybe forms that aren't asking for emails where they should be, conversations inboxes that are just collecting people's names, stuff like that. Incorrectly categorized records. So any people that have data against them that are actually incorrect. So again, this can be bulk edits that were done incorrectly, anything like that. Forms that are asking questions and putting them in the wrong fields. That's quite a typical one as well. unassociated objects. So a big part of HubSpot, as you may or may not know, depending on how familiar you are with it, is that different objects, so contacts, companies, and deals, for example, can all be associated to each other. And this is very important for reporting because if you want to know, for example, how many contacts a company has attached to it, they need to be associated. And that allows us to report more effectively later down the line when we want to see how many deals does this one contact have with them and where are those deals at. Of course, if they're not associated, then that data just isn't there to report on. Hi, Leah. I said I'd be looking at the chat, even though I shouldn't be. And the last point I want to touch on is duplicate properties. So it's quite typical a lot of the time that when people are making forms, for example, they're putting properties in the forms that may already exist in the account, but they might not be aware of what they're named and stuff like that. So it's really, really important when you're bringing new data into HubSpot that the data is going into places that it should be going. For example, some accounts I've worked in before have like 7 country properties because maybe someone making a form didn't know that there was already one they should be using. And this just means down the line, when you come to reporting, the data is all spread out. So yeah, just a few things to note there on unclean data specifically. How to collect and maintain clean data. There we go. So how can we ensure that clean data is actually being collected? The first point, which is, I think, really critical for most accounts, is well-made forms with required fields. So required fields is a big one, really. This is quite typical for any form that's collecting critical data, like an inquiry form or an application form. If a field isn't required, then a lot of people just might not fill it in, to be honest. It could be they might miss it, they could be lazy, they might not want to fill it in. There's a number of reasons why someone might not fill something in. So if you know later down the line that you really need to report on what grade these people are going to be in, for example, you need to make sure that field is required so you're not getting people come into the CRM where some have it and some don't. The next point for collecting clean data is automatic record creation where possible. So for example, in accounts, I know deals typically can be made manually as and when the time seems right for it, or you can make deals automatically via a workflow, for example. So in the context of a school, which is what I'll kind of be basing these reports off, you'll be asking for deal/student information on a form. So what's the name of this student? What grade do they want to be in? All that kind of stuff. And the benefit of doing automatic record creation in the background via a workflow is that all of these records are going to be consistent. So the naming conventions are going to be exactly the same. They're all going to be populating the same properties. Everything that needs to be populated won't be missed just because it runs in the background all the time on its own. The next part is correct and consistent record associations. So like I mentioned before, parents and students, they need to be connected to each other. And if you have a contact record for a parent and a deal record for a student, having them connected means that you can report on them together. Of course, all the other benefits come with associations like being able to send emails to the right people with the correct labels and stuff like that. And this is a really big benefit of automatic record creation because when you make a record automatically, those links are just made like intrinsically in the background. Up next, clean custom properties are super important in HubSpot because the example I was given is that if someone's from the UK, people might put this in a number of different ways in a single line text field, for example. So one person might put UK, one person might put United Kingdom, one person might put England, one person might put Britain. So by creating custom properties that have pre-selectable options, you're just ensuring that the data is all coming in the same way, which later benefits reporting. So if you want to report on all of your inquiries for the year by country, then you're not having mismatching options and stuff like that, which is just a huge aspect of HubSpot, really. So how can this all be maintained and monitored? I think a really key thing that people can benefit from in HubSpot is designating data hygiene responsibilities to maybe a member or a specific team in their organization. So, for example, here at HubGem, we've always got someone who's in charge of data hygiene in our own account. So these people will sorry, I need to stop looking at the chat as I'm talking. So these people will typically look through the account, discover which things are causing unclean data, and they'll be searching for ways to maintain that data, just because the data within your account is the most important bit. Good data is a CRM. That's what it's there for. Creating a data hygiene dashboard. So this is a reporting dashboard specifically about the data in your account and how clean it is, not necessarily, your inquiries and your marketing efforts, more so how clean is the data we've got, how many people are missing an email field, how many phone numbers are we missing, stuff like that. And the final point is using HubSpot's own data quality tool section. So slightly hidden in HubSpot, there's a data quality section. From here, you can amend formatting issues in the account. You can merge duplicate records where they're appearing and defined by HubSpot. And then you can look at some other property insights and stuff like that. Just a shameless plug, we actually did a hug on data hygiene a few months ago or something. So go and check it out if you want to learn all about this data hygiene stuff. Sorry, I'm going to be taking sips every now and then. So moving on to admissions reports, we have a kind of recommended and tried and tested admissions setup in HubSpot. So when it comes to managing the admissions process through HubSpot, we and our clients have found great success in using deals and pipelines for this. It may sound a little weird at first, like deals being students. There's something that feels a bit wrong about that, but hear us out. So deal records are going to be the student records in this typical setup, and contacts are going to be the parents. This means the data sits in each place. They can be connected through the associations, and we can use the pipelines to track the journey of those students up until the point of enrollment. So for example, the inquiry pipeline will be the student's journey all the way from the point of inquiry to the point of application. And then the application pipeline will be to track the journey of that student from application all the way through to enrollment or denial, if that happens, but any other outcome that there may be. So this configuration allows you to effectively manage and track the journeys and applications of your prospective students with their own dedicated object in the CRM. This is really important when it comes to reporting as well, because let's say a parent in HubSpot has 5 different students that they want to inquire for. Rather than having all of that data sit against the parent under one record, you can have the parent as one record and then 5 different deal records for each of those students. That means they all count for one when you're doing your reports. It just really helps when you're trying to split things out and use the CRM as effectively as possible. So just a little stage example at the bottom of the inquiry pipeline, you typically have a stage like inquiry where someone has submitted the inquiry form. We make a deal automatically, like I mentioned, and we can pop them in that first stage. Then they can move on to contacted once a member of the admissions team has maybe reached out, and then assessment once we're on to the next stage, applied/registered or inquiry withdrawn. So this can be customized per account, as you may know. Every time you make a deal pipeline, you can add plenty of stages and you can reorder them whenever you want. And yeah, you can basically make this process as personalized for your organization as you want. And all of this benefits reporting. This is why I'm talking about it. Like you can report on deal stage, how long someone spent in a stage, the average time that people spend in stages, the movement between the stages. Yeah, super important stuff. Okay, so I'm going to start off by talking about some inquiry reports. So specifically about a typical inquiry pipeline in HubSpot and how the reports may look if you've got an account that's set up really well, like this one I've got here. So this is just a screenshot of a dashboard, an inquiry dashboard. So depending on how much you know about reporting in HubSpot, you build reports and then you place them on dashboards. So dashboards are a place in which a number of reports can sit together. So for example, you would have an inquiry dashboard, which encompasses all of your reports about the inquiry process. And then you'll have an application dashboard where you have a bunch of reports that encompass the application process and the data you have there. And then you can have a marketing dashboard, open day dashboard, data hygiene dashboard, another dashboard. You can have as many as you want, really. And you can group the reports together, drag them around, make them big, make them small, make them look nice. I really enjoy reporting. I find it fun. So what I'm going to do now, I'm basically just going to fire through a bunch of reporting examples, and I'm going to talk about how the data is being used and how it's being collected and how it's being put together. So yeah, any questions, throw them in the chat. And Amy, you can hop on them because I should not be looking at the chat while I'm talking through it. Great. So total inquiries by stage. In this report, we're looking at all of the inquiries in the account of all time. So if we look over at our filters, what we're doing is we're filtering by deals in the inquiry pipeline. You're going to see inquiries spelled a bit differently throughout this hook, by the way, because this account is, they use the American spelling. No comment on that from me, no comment at all. So what we're doing here, we're looking at a count of deals, so just a number of deals, and then we're breaking it down by deal stage. So where are these deals currently at from all time? There's no filter in this report on date or time or anything like that. It's just all time. It's just a total for us. So we've got a little number for each bar here, which displays each stage of the pipeline. And what we've also got is a little breakdown of whether these inquiries are day inquiries, boarding inquiries, both if they've put it, summer school only, but I think we've got a couple there, or people that aren't sure. That is the same color. This brand kit needs to be extended, but these are all day and boarding inquiries. Just moving on. Some more inquiry reports. So what we've got here is contacts who have inquired, and then we've got total inquiries of deals. So this is a really important distinction to make in the admissions setup that I spoke about. So it's one thing having a parent submit an inquiry form as a contact, and then another thing being a deal, which is an inquiry which sits by itself. This is why it's really, really helpful to have different objects, first of all, and then different reports for each. So this first one, total contacts who have inquired, these are parents who have submitted an inquiry form. And in the filters, we can see, sorry, I'm a bit bunged up at the moment. We can see we're only looking at contacts that have ever had a deal in the inquiry pipeline. So this is a really good example of where the associated data of these objects is being used to build a report. So instead of just looking at how many contacts have submitted a form, we're looking, okay, how many of these contacts actually have a deal in the pipeline? Because those deals in this circumstance count as a live inquiry. And on the right-hand side, we have like the flip side of that. So when a contact submits an inquiry form, for example, we're generating a deal or multiple deals based on how many children they want to inquire about. And those deal records kind of stand on their own as an individual person or a student. So what we're looking at here is a number of deals instead of a number of contacts. So yeah, I think it's a really, really important distinction to make when you're looking at contacts versus deal reporting. They both mean different things, but they're intrinsically linked based on the entire process. Up next, we're looking at total inquiries by grade. So as for any school, what grade people are interested in is hugely important because that determines, what their journey is going to look like when they enter the school, because it's how old they are. So what this report is, it's a summary of all those deals we saw from the last page, so those 1,282, and which grade they say they're interested in, also broken down by day, boarding, etc. This is a really, really, really important key example of why having a required field on a form is really important. So for example, in this account, on their inquiry form, it's required to put whether the student is applying for a certain grade and whether they want to apply for or inquire for, day or boarding. That means that in the back end, we've got all the data about those things, not just how many people have inquired, but what are they inquiring about, what are they interested in, and then this can help your admissions teams better determine how to allocate their time, what to do with them. And then also, like your marketing teams, it can help you determine, okay, who should we actually be targeting more? Do we need to target these people more because they're not reaching out so much? Or is this like the market that we should be looking at because that's what we're typically getting? So yeah, that's why it's really important to make sure you're getting as much data as possible without making your forms, too long and crazy, because nobody loves a long and crazy form. So moving on to some more reports. Something really, really important, of course, for any admissions process is knowing how many of these people have actually gone on to apply. Because it's one thing knowing how many people have inquired, but of course, we want to turn these inquiries into applications, and we want to turn these applications into students who are actually a part of the school. So what we're looking at on this report is how many of those deals, those 1,000 deals or so, have turned into applications. And the way we're doing that is by looking at deals that were in the inquiry pipeline. No worries, Becky. I hope it was good. Enjoy your meeting. So what we're doing here is we're looking at how many of those deals who are in the inquiry pipeline have then gone on to become a part of the application pipeline, which again is a really key, good example of why splitting these pipelines out is important, because you can separate the data and then decide when you want to pull them together. So in this instance, people have to meet various filter rules. So if they meet filters 1 and 2, which is them being in the application pipeline and the inquiry pipeline, then they'll meet the criteria to be in the report. Or if they meet 1 and 3, which is similar, but just for them having registered for a meeting or an event, which in this account circumstance means they are inquiring as well, then they're going to pull into the report. You can get really crazy with reporting filters. There's no limit as far as I'm aware of in how many you can add. You can group them together like you can see here, so people can either meet 1 and 2 or 1 and 3. Alternatively, you can have it so they have to meet everything, or maybe they only have to meet 1 or 2 or 3. You can get crazy when it comes to reporting and filters. So yeah. And down here we've got total inquiries by day of boarding. So just kind of similar to what we were showing before with the breakdown of grade, we might just want to see a flat breakdown of day versus boarding, just so it's a bit easier to visualize than trying to, count up what's in each bar here. There's no harm in having a report separately just for the day of boarding aspect, where you can see that side by side in a, like a more simplified way. Now we're moving on to application reports. So everything we looked at there was primarily based on inquiries. So the inquiry form that the school has, and then the subsequent pipeline that they then go into. This is now looking at application reports. So basically everything that comes after this. No worries, MB. Have a good one. So this is applications by grade. So very similar to inquiries by grade, we're now looking at applications by grade. So this is any deal that's in the application pipeline, as opposed to being any deal that's in the inquiry pipeline. These reports can be displayed side by side if you want to see any, consistencies between the two. So the more people who inquire about early years 2 go on to apply than people who inquire about grade 5 and then go on to apply. Is there a matching trend? Do things look similar? It's really useful to display these display these reports in similar ways, so that you can compare them at a glance. And your dashboards don't also have to be similar. I mean, separate. Christ, you don't need to have an inquiry dashboard and an application dashboard. You could have everything in the same one, so that these reports can kind of sit together and like mirror each other. Or you can have them on different dashboards. You can do what you want, or what you get asked to do. Up next is total applications by stage. So this is the same as what we showed with total inquiries by stage. So show me every deal in the application pipeline and tell me what stage they're currently in. So we've got 76 deals in this instance in the initial application review stage, 4 in the committee review, 5 that have been accepted with a condition, 3 that have been accepted unconditionally, 76 enrolled, 5 waitlisted, 75 withdrawn, and one denied. It's a shame. I feel bad for that person. But yeah, just really, really important to visualize all of this. And the pipeline is just such a good method of using this data in HubSpot, because it can be viewed in this way, rather than having to go into the pipeline and look every time and count them up and start adding filters for day onboarding and stuff like that. All these reports, by the way, which is really important to note. They're all dynamic, so they update themselves as and when people meet the criteria. So this snapshot here, this is a screenshot, so it won't update, of course, but on the dashboard, if somebody goes on to join the pipeline, the number will just go up, and then they'll join the column that they meet. Something important to note as well, which I'll go on to in a little bit, to be fair, but every report I've shown can also be filtered on date. So if you want to see all of your applications last year compared to this year, you can do that. If you want to see everything over the past 30 days, you can do that as well. Maybe you want to see everything over the past week, you can do that as well. I'll go on to show some examples of how you can look at those dates. Here we are. I should have just waited for the next slide. So this is total applications by stage, which is the exact same thing as the report I just showed you, but this is looking at the last 90 days. So we're looking at any deal that was created 90 days ago or less. So this is a really good way of kind of making your reports a bit more relevant to what's going on at the moment, as opposed to what's ever happened in the account, because without a date filter, this is just a report on every deal you've ever had in that pipeline, which is really important to know, but you'll also want to know the data that's relevant to the time you're at, or the part of the year you're in, you know. Moving on. So attached to deals, for an independent school anyway, let me just add, deals are going to have amounts attached to them. So that's a benefit of using deals. Applications for an independent school, they cost money. And this is data that can also be reflected in HubSpot and reported on equally as effectively as how many deals there actually are overall. So for example, we're looking at total application amount by stage now. So whereas before we were looking at total applications by stage, which is a number of deals, we're now looking at the worth of those deals in the pipeline and where they're at, which is equally as important for admissions teams, of course, in an independent school setting. May I add again? Of course, it won't be relevant for like public schools and whatnot. Yeah, just more on the amount. These are both time-based as well. So what we were showing before, so I'm clicking everywhere. So this is overall again. So that's why I've added current in the title, because if you've got reports on everything and then reports on time, you want to make it very clear in the title so people know what they're looking at. So what we've got here is amount versus amount as well. I meant to say this year so far. So basically everything you're seeing on this little page of reports is this year so far, which is just another one of the ways that you can filter your deals by date. So this is looking at total enrolled amount this year so far. So how many deals have actually hit that final stage of the pipeline, which is enrolled, which is, I guess, in a sales term, like a closed or one stage, versus how many have been withdrawn, which is, again, in sales terms, kind of lost. So yeah, really, really useful to visualize these together. And just underneath each, we have the same visualization broken down by grade and day of boarding as well, just because these are really important distinctions to make when you're reviewing the data in the account as a school, for example. I know this might not be as relevant for other organizations, but the same equivalence is there as long as you're collecting the data. So anything you need to know about the records in your account, as long as you're collecting that data, you can report on it in any way you want. That's why it's also, before I move on, really important to have pre-selectable options in forms for stuff like grade or day and boarding. Some accounts might have a single line text field where someone can type in grade 4, but then someone else might type in 4, or someone might type in age 9. And that just means that you won't be able to report in such like a succinct way. Everything will be kind of mismatching and spread out. So yeah, that's why it's really, really important to collect clean data, like I mentioned at the start. So now I'm going to be moving on to marketing reports. I'm going to be looking at some like really vague marketing reports to start with. And then I'm going to be moving on to open days as a bit of a framework for what else can be done, just because I know open days for independent schools, again, may I add, are like a really important part of the year, and there's a lot building up to them, and they're just, you know, a super important way of engaging people and converting these people into hopefully applications. So I've actually got a little slide on this. So what's equally as important as summarizing all of your admissions information is also understanding where this information actually came from. It's one thing knowing how many contacts I've got in HubSpot or how many inquiries I've had all year, but it's more useful to know where they came from and why they're in the CRM and what created them, because that will better help you determine, okay, what marketing efforts are actually working better than others. Maybe we need to shift our focus onto something else, or maybe we need to go all in on this one thing that's working really well for us. So, with well utilized marketing tools such as your campaigns, your marketing emails, ads, social, other things, marketing teams can benefit from a range of reports which can better help them measure the success of their efforts in direct relation to the admissions process. So, this is just a huge aspect of HubSpot for marketing and admissions teams. The goal is to bring these teams together because realistically, they are linked. Marketing efforts generate leads generate inquiries and applications, and that's your admissions process. So by using reporting in HubSpot, you're kind of visualizing that link that they have together because all the data is there and it's all connected. Like, a contact that has a deal that's in this stage of the inquiry pipeline, that contact has probably undergone some sort of marketing activity, whether they've opened an email or they've been to an open day, stuff like that. So, yeah, let's have a look at some record origin reports. So, the where did you hear about us field is a great one for marketing teams to understand how their efforts are kind of working in general, because this comes straight from the parent when they're submitting the inquiry form. So this is a field that it's typically not always required on an inquiry form. I think we leave it up to them if they want to answer or not. But basically, this asks people when they're submitting the inquiry form, where did you actually hear about us? Very different to where did their record come from. That's what we're looking at next. But this is us asking them, where did you first hear about our school, for example? So word of mouth is probably always going to be a big one for that particular demographic. Social media is great to know. Mobile ads, Google search, the list goes on really. This is just really important because it's direct feedback from the people that are inquiring, as opposed to what I'm going to show you next, which is original source. So depending on how familiar you are with HubSpot, original source is a default field which sits in the back end really, and it updates itself when a new contact is made. So what this does, this looks at where did the contact first come into the CRM. So organic search and paid search are huge ones. Referrals a bit smaller, organic social a bit smaller. Email marketing in this instance is a lot smaller. So this is, again, for marketing teams, it's really important to see this because this might indicate, okay, our outreach needs to be a little bit better maybe. Other campaigns, paid social, again, this just highlights how your efforts are bringing people in at the end of the day, and it can better inform you of what you're doing good, what you might need to work on. And again, if we look at the filters here, we're only looking at contacts who have submitted the inquiry form. And this is important because it just means the data is relevant to the admissions process, like I mentioned. These processes, like they're linked together. So by looking at people that have inquired, it's putting those teams hand in hand. So the marketing team know what to better do for these inquiries or what's currently going well. If I move on, we can also look at loads of marketing email performance metrics as well. So this is very rudimentary, basic report that I've thrown together, but this is looking at anyone that's inquired, so those same people, and we're looking at an average amount of marketing emails that are delivered to these people across their lifetime in the CRM. So 29.24 in this instance versus how many are opened, 20.35, which is a really, really good open rate. I think that's that's good. And then we're looking at how many email clicks we have as well and how many have bounced. So again, this is a really kind of basic way of looking at this, but these reports can be filtered by marketing campaigns if you have those up in HubSpot. You can do the same for the application process and then compare the two against each other. You can look at how many emails people are typically delivered until they go on to actually inquire, or how many emails someone's delivered from the point of inquiring up until the point of application, just so you're better informed of the whole journey, not just where is their deal, but what's also happening to and with the parent as they're moving through the process, but both of which are hugely important depending on what team you're in, I suppose. So to get a bit more specific for marketing reports, I'm going to be looking at some open day reports because, like I mentioned a few times now, open days are just a huge aspect of marketing efforts when it comes to an independent school, for example, let's say. So looking at a dashboard that was set up for this, let's say there was a marketing open day on the 28th of September to try and bring inquiries or new people in to look around the school and do some activities. I'm sure there's stuff to do. So to go through some reports in detail, at the top here we have total number of families registered for this particular open day. So what this is looking at is how many people have submitted the form to register for the open day. So these are individual submissions. So one family will submit one form typically. If they do more, what are you doing? But one family will submit one form, and then that will count as one family being registered for the open day. Underneath, we have total number of guests attending or expecting to attend. So this is completely linked to this. So basically, on the form that these people are filling out to say, I want to come to the open day, we're also asking them, how many people are you bringing with you? Or how many people should we expect? This is a number field, so they can type in a number, which is really important because that means when we go on to report, we can add this number up for all of these people. So all 101 of these people have probably added maybe 2 or 3 people they want to bring along, and that number then adds up to the sum number of guests that we're hoping to expect, which is really important to know because if one family is going to be bringing 20 people, we don't want that to be a surprise on the day. We kind of want to know who's going to be coming, what numbers to expect, so you can arrange things properly. And something really, really important to note about reports that I haven't actually mentioned yet, if you click on this number, it will show you those people. And again, if you click on this number, it will show you those people and then how many guests they've each said are going to attend. And that's the same for all of the previous reports I've shown as well. So if you click on this bar, it will show you every deal that falls under that bar. And then you can click into the records, discover what you need to discover, send an email if you want. All the reports are very dynamic in that way. You can click into them and look at the records through them. So moving on, we're now looking at registrations by grade. So this is family registrations, which is a number of contacts, and this is a number of deals, which means how many students is this open day kind of for. And again, that's just why it's so important to have these records separate, because you want to know if a parent is inquiring on behalf of 5 students. You don't want that just to count as one, really, because that's 5 potential applications that you might get down the line. That's why it's really important to let these students have their own record, and that's why using the deal object is just so beneficial later down the line when it comes on to reporting and moving them through the pipeline and tracking their progress and giving them their own fields and all of that stuff. So this is looking at a number of registrations by grade again, just because these are some of the most important pieces of data that a school can see, and also broken down by day and boarding as well. And something to mention on the bars themselves again, if you hover over this bar, it will give you a percentage of each number. So what percentage is day, what percentage is boarding, and then an overall number as well, which we can see at the top here. So what's equally, if not more important than knowing how many people have actually signed up to an open day is knowing how many people came to the open day. So how many people attended. So what we've got is basically a mirror of all the reports I just showed you, but now we're looking at attendance instead of registration. So instead of total number of families who are registered, we're now looking at the total number of families who have actually attended. So in this instance, it's 27. And again, instead of looking at how many guests have registered to come or expressed their interest to come, we're looking at how many guests are actually marked as being attended on the day. Again, but both of which are just so important for knowing how the day performed, how it performed against last year. Like in the instance of this school, we have an open day dashboard where all of the reports I'm showing you for September 28th, they're all the same for a March open day they had and they're going to be the same for future open days, which means people can go onto this dashboard, then they can review the performance of each open day right next to each other, so they can know, okay, what marketing efforts have made this open day more successful than the last. Maybe our numbers are lower than the last one we did. What do we do differently? What should we change? It's just really, really important data to have. If these events are going to be happening anyway, then why not have all of these numbers available for everyone to see, you know? Up next, we got attendees by grade. So just like I showed you the report on registrations by grade, again, we're looking at attendees. So how many of these people actually came? Because these are now potential applications. And now we're looking at applications from people who have actually attended as well. So everything I've shown you has gone from people that have inquired all the way to people that have now attended the open day and then actually gone on to apply as well, which just shows their journey within the same reporting dashboard. So we got a total of 6 people so far anyway that have applied for the September 2028 open day, and we can see which grade they've applied for and whether it's day or boarding as well. And yeah, an important note, which I've already mentioned, but I'll touch upon it again. All reports are dynamic. They're updating themselves. So this number, when I took a screenshot, is 6, but it's going to keep going up when people apply. We've got the data in HubSpot that they attended the open day, and then we're going to have the data that they applied because it's all coming through HubSpot, and then the reports are going to update themselves. So AI, it's happening. It's all happening. I thought it'd be very worth touching on AI because, yeah, as you may or may not know, AI has been going crazy lately, and it's in HubSpot now, and it can directly benefit your reporting, and it can build reports for you. So, new AI tools. As you may have noticed, it's here. Out of all the amazing things that it can do and help you with, and all the various agents that come with it, assisting your report building is one of the things it can do. So before you put the tools to use, you'll need to ensure that access to the AI tools are switched on in your account settings. So in your account, under account management, there's a section for AI, and you just need to make sure you toggle on the option to give users access. I think this is on by default. It might not be. It was when I looked in here. But yeah, just worth checking that before you want to utilize any of the AI tools. So how does it work? I thought there's going to be another word there, but there wasn't. So using HubSpot's new Breeze AI intelligence, the CRM can help you generate custom single object reports for now, based on a prompt or a phrase that you provide it. So once the report template has been generated based on what you asked the report to make, you can still edit it as well and customize it. So if you ask for a report and you'd rather it be in a pie chart or a donut chart, which is just a pie chart with a hole in the middle, then you can change it to that, but the report's already there. It's already made by the AI. And you can also ask the AI to refine it. So if the AI makes a report and you realize something's not quite right, you can say, oh, please add this filter that I forgot to mention, or can you actually please remove this field from the report? And it'll just keep updating it for as long as you want until you're happy with it. And then you can save it to your dashboard or to your reporting library. So to generate an AI report, you need to navigate to reporting in your account as you would for any other report, create report, create from scratch, and then where you have all the other reporting builders like single object, custom object, funnel, etc. There's now the AI report generator, which is shiny and new, and it's got a little thing on it. So how to generate a report. When you enter the builder, you need to summarize exactly what you want to see. And there's a few important things to note on this. Be as precise as possible. Anyone that's worked with AI at all, like ChatGPT or Gemini or any of those kind of, models, you probably know that the more specific you are and precise you are in what you ask, the better your answer is going to be and the more detailed it's going to be. And that is no different here. If I want to see a report, for example, on how many deals were created in the past 3 months in each stage, please filter by the inquiry pipeline only. I need to put it all in there because, otherwise it doesn't know. You need to understand exactly what object you want to report on and why. So at the moment, this is just for single object report building. So you need to tell it, I want to see a report on contacts, or I want to see a report on deals or companies, because that's like the main part of what you're going to be reporting on. And again, that's why it's really, really useful in this admissions process to have deals as their own student object, because it just helps HubSpot split them apart from the contacts. And like I mentioned before, you can rephrase and refine your prompt based on the results given as much as you want until you're happy with it. So once you're ready and you think you've put everything you need to put in for the report, you can hit generate report, and then it will make a report. So this is something that was made off the back of my prompt here. It was just made on its own. So it's given me a breakdown of deals made in the last 90 days in each stage of the inquiry pipeline. And we've got a number of deals and what stage they're in. And we can see it's automatically added one filter, which is just the inquiry pipeline, which is what I asked for. Otherwise, it would be showing application stages as well. And it's also showing only the 90 days, which is what I asked for here in the past 3 months. Typically, for example, I'd want this to be a bar chart report. So you get the option here just to change the table that is being displayed in, or you can make it a donut report. I love a donut report. And up here, you can press customize if you want as well, and that will bring you into the report builder itself, where you can, add other filters that you want and tweak it how you like. But it's just a really, really good place for people to start if they're not too comfortable with reporting, because reporting in HubSpot, like, it can be simple, but it can be really hard and really complex if you're not too familiar. So asking for what you want and seeing how the AI has picked the filters and picked the fields and displayed it, it's going to be a really, really helpful step for you to then go on and build your own reports in as much detail. But it's still learning. As you can see, the title of the report is basically exactly what I asked it. So I'll probably go in and change the name, but the report is there. All right, that's all I've got for today. Any questions about anything?
I have just opened the Q&A chat as well, so pop in a few questions there. We don't have any from the chat so far, but yeah, leave it open for another couple of minutes, just because I'm very cautious of time, as it's a Friday morning going into Friday afternoon. But well done, Connor, that was great.
Thanks. I went into full monologue mode.
No, I feel like you make it fun. I always learn something. I really do.
Good. Thanks, Amy. Chat, great stuff. Thanks, Ollie. Thanks, Ollie. Thanks, Leah. Q&A. What was your favorite type of report? I like the reports that I was showing, to be fair. Reports on deals through pipeline stages are typically quite nice to report on, because all the data is super, super clean. The names of the stages are never going to change. The data that sits in those deals in those stages is clean if the account's set up well. So yeah, deal reports based on pipelines are typically like straightforward, but also very like vigorous. That's not the right word to use. Do you have any tips on managing custom report limits? So basically, this has come up lately with a client. They've hit their custom report limit, which was, for their account, 100. And what you can do, you can create add-ons. So, well, not create add-ons. You can buy add-ons for additional numbers of reports. But if that's out of the question and you don't have like the budget, let's say, if you want to report year on year, but you've hit your limit, you can create a different version of the dashboard for like 25, 26 when that year comes. And instead of updating all of those reports individually and making new ones, you can add dashboard filters. So I can have a 24, 25 dashboard with the exact same reports on it as 25, 26, but both of those dashboards can just have a different filter on. So the reports look different, as opposed to trying to build separate reports. It's a really good way around it. You're welcome.
Right, just because I'm cautious of time, I have now finished the Q&A. Sorry. So if anybody else does have any questions, then please do get in touch with me, get in touch with Connor, anybody else at HubGem. We will be happy to answer these for you. So yeah, next step, subscribe to our marketing and admissions blog, which I've already said. We've got an abundance of kind of information on there. Enjoy your free resource and keep an eye out for our upcoming hug sessions as well. We try to do one a month, and we also do wee mini hugs as well, which if you're busy, they tend to be about a wee half an hour.
I'll leave it there. Thanks
Thank
for
you
coming.
very much. Gonna stop
All right.
recording.
Yep.